welcome to IDCom's Media Snack, episode 3. We're going to do a little special episode, and I wanted to talk about a really interesting media idea. So occasionally we might do these are one-off media snacks where we look at something that we think is kind of interesting in terms of a campaign or a media idea that's out there that we want to share with you. And this one's quite pertinent at the moment because as we approach Christmas, there is, certainly in the UK, but in, I guess, many markets around the world, lots of interest around Christmas advertising, most notably retailers. So here in the UK, we have quite an iconic store called John Lewis, and they've become very famous the last few years of making these incredibly powerful anthemic TV ads. And in some ways that's raised the game, so a lot of other retailers have tried to compete and match them in terms of the creative quality of their content before Christmas. And so there's a lot of hype about that, a lot of expectation normally around John Lewis's Christmas TV ad. But what's been really interesting this year is that I think John Lewis have come to market not with a creative idea, although the creative idea you might have seen, we'll leave some links to some of the things that I think you might want to have a look at. So we'll look at John Lewis's ad. A retailer called ALDI in Europe made actually a spoof of their ad to replace their existing Christmas ad, which is kind of interesting. And there's been a brilliant piece of film doing the rounds this week from a German retailer called EDEKA, which I think upped the game versus John Lewis in terms of the creative content. They made an incredibly powerful and emotional film about families at Christmas. So again, we'll provide the link to that, have a look. It's a really good piece of film. But I'm not here to talk about the quality of the creative. There's lots of discussion out there about John Lewis's ad. It always gathers massive attention, as I said, and there's been a lot of comment about the creative. But I think the John Lewis ad this year is actually a media idea, and I wanted to share with you some insight of the strategy behind it. What's really clever, if you've watched the creative, they've created this campaign called ManOnTheMoon, and they're following up with a big social push with hashtag ManOnTheMoon. They've created lots of other assets that are moon related, so you can download the ManOnTheMoon app. There's a lovely poster that you can download. We'll show some examples of these where you can have augmented reality experiences, a bit like an advent calendar each day, which unlocks new content. And they're doing their normal extensions of merchandise. So in the past, if you've seen Monty the Penguin, which I think was last year's campaign, they had created loads of Monty the Penguin merchandise, and it's the same this year in store. But those are just simple kind of creative extensions that you might expect John Lewis to do. What's really clever, I think, about what they've done this year is that it's rooted in a media idea. ManOnTheMoon as a campaign is really driven by a very, very simple insight. And we're always talking, when we think about media, talking about trying to find really smart consumer insights. And actually the insight that the team at John Lewis and their agencies have identified is that on Christmas Day this year, certainly in the UK, there is a full moon. And that's a brilliant insight because it allows them to create a content story and lots of other content extensions which reference the moon. Okay, so the moon is a brilliant piece of media, right? If you can own the moon, that is incredibly powerful. And so I think what this means is, on Christmas Day, we are all going to be aware that it's a full moon on Christmas Day. And so on Christmas evening, perhaps you're gathered in the garden, with your family around you, staring up at the full moon, and what will you be feeling in those moments? You'll be feeling safe, warm, content, inspired, hopeful, and to me those are probably pretty bang on in terms of John Lewis brand equity. And so what they've done very cleverly is perhaps own a moment without really branding a moment. They're associating with that. So it'd be even subliminally very easy to think of John Lewis in those moments, because for many people the full moon is going to be part of a conversation on Christmas Day, and John Lewis have attached themselves to that, not just with a great executional creative, but as I say, really as a media idea. So I think that's incredibly powerful. It's what some brands call moments of meaning, and I think it not only, I mean, as a great insight, not only is it given John Lewis a great story to tell in the run-up to Christmas, right, and get people to understand and keep the John Lewis brand front of mind as they go into this key sales window. But it has great power of longevity, I think, as developing John Lewis's brand equity by associating the brand and the tone of voice of John Lewis as a brand with a real moment that matters, which is, you know, those nice cozy feelings around family on Christmas Day. So that's incredibly powerful. I think it's more than a TV ad. I would venture to say I think this is probably the best media idea that I've seen in 2015. If you haven't seen it, we'll provide some links so you can watch the bits of film, look at some of the competitor advertising, but also keep an eye on all the things that John Lewis is doing to really try and focus us to think about associating the full moon on Christmas Day with John Lewis. And when you're standing there looking at the moon, obviously, you'll be thinking of the brand. That's it for now. See you next time. Bye.